Hello and welcome to the Crypto Jungle. My name is Baloo the Bear, and here on the channel I keep crypto simple. Sorry, the stream was a little laggy. I left Discord on, and Discord is very data heavy. So anyways, in today's video we're going to talk about the market. We just got to close daily, our Monday close on Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at some of the altcoins. The exchange alternatives and the decentralized exchanges seem to be getting a lot of hype. The hype isn't really matching the price action just because of the fact that Bitcoin is still kind of not moving anywhere just yet, but we're seeing a lot of price action coming into a few projects. Most notably DYDX is getting a lot of hype out there right now, so we'll take a look at that one. It's a new coin, new publicly traded asset, so we'll take a closer look at that, along with some other trading alternatives such as Troy as well. Good morning if it's morning to you. Good morning, Patty. Good morning, Tom. Oh, Tom's out in Melbourne. Well, you would be very disappointed with the quality of coffee that I'm drinking, but good morning to you, sir. Aloha. Kahuna Organics, hello. All right, so without any further ado, let's just go ahead and take a look at what we got for our daily candle close here. All right, so we just closed back inside the channel. Not great, you know. I was hoping that we would hold support on top of the automatic rally line on top of this channel. We're back inside. Things are looking, you know, más o menos, not great, not terrible. We're not breaking down or anything just yet. Let's go down to the smaller time frame. Let's hit the 4-hour chart. Yeah, we're struggling to maintain support in this area. We need to, if we can stay on the RSI, stay above 40, we're technically in the bullish control zone. If we begin to fall below 40, it's going to be very hard for us to get back up, and that's going to be followed with some very bearish price action. Area to look for is getting above the 60 line. If we just draw that kind of, we have these two peaks right here. If we can get above 55 and break out on 60, that will probably correlate with us breaking this downward sloping line of resistance. So look for that. If we can get a move to the upside that breaks through this general area, let's make that a little easier to see. Breaks through that trend line, and that correlates with the break of the 60 on the RSI. That's going to be a good confluence that is a continuation type setup. So hopefully we get something like that. Notice how I'm using the word hope. Hope is not a strategy, so you know, you do have to watch these candles as they print and play what you are given. So yeah, Bitcoin, you know, it's doing its thing right now, consolidating, not breaking down, not breaking out. Some of the more hyped coins we can take a look at. So DYDX, which is a decentralized derivatives exchange, pretty cool. They've got some spot offerings as well, but I think the most important thing that's really kind of driving the narratives here is the fact that Americans now have access to leverage. They have access to futures contracts. They have access to derivatives in a peer-to-peer decentralized way on a layer 2 solution. So pretty cool project. I haven't dove into it far enough to know what the demand for the token is. Because remember, these are not shares of stock. You're not investing in the success of the protocol. You do need to have some sort of demand for the utility of the token. So I haven't dove into this far enough to figure out where the utility of this token is. But regardless, the protocol seems to be getting a lot of attention. And me personally, I'm all for any access that the Americans might have to leverage, because it's a very in-demand product. It's a very in-demand financial instrument inside of the US. So, you know, let them have it. The rest of the world has it, let them have it. So not much for price interpretation here, though. We don't have much. This is the 4-hour chart, right? If we go to the daily, we can see that the daily, it's a launch, basically. You do have to be careful with tokens that have launched, because they more often than not rally into the market if the market is bullish, and then they plateau, and then they have a retracement below the open. So don't be surprised to see that DYDX goes well below $3. there is no floor yet, and we can't establish that kind of floor. But if you're into the momentum stuff and you're into trading the hype and a short-term parameter trade, then there's definitely something here. You kind of have a double bottom formation that we can draw a let's draw a support line over. These typically aren't the trades that I take. I'm much more of a value investor, a value trader. I buy stuff that has had hype, that goes through a long-term accumulation period. That's what we do with the Wyckoff method, is we're trying to identify these long-term accumulation periods. The momentum's not there, YouTube's not talking about them, but that's just part of the method, is you kind of wait for that momentum to build after the fact. So not a trade that I will likely be taking. But we're holding above support. As long as we can hold above this level, it in theory should keep going to the upside, as there is a lot of demand from retail, from YouTube, from crypto Twitter, saying that this is the next best thing. So, pretty good. Okay, so another one that is a exchange alternative is Troy. This would be a setup that I would typically be more fond of taking, honestly, just because it's been through a longer accumulation phase. We can actually draw a channel on this, so let's go ahead and do that. So basically, from the change of character, when we stopped falling and started trading sideways, we've been in an accumulation period for let's see here. We've been in an accumulation for approximately 127 days. So not a ton of accumulation, but more than what we're seeing in a lot of these other ones. So keep an eye on Troy. We could see this kind of go a little wild. Now, I don't know what this candle was. Some sort of weird order, or maybe just the order book was not very liquid. So somebody placed a very large market order that just blew through. It just blew through the order book. That can happen. Whales aren't always experienced. So you can have whales get into these illiquid coins. They have a lot of money and they're like, oh, I want to invest in Troy. But what they're not thinking is when they go and do that market order, they can actually blow through the whole order book and fill everybody's order and have a massive spread on your position past the all-time high. Like, the order book blew through 185%, so he paid 185% over what he anticipated. That would be my guess. It's probably a liquidity issue, so do be careful with Troy. On the liquidity side, it's not that liquid, although we are seeing volume come back in, so maybe it will be a more robust order book moving forwards. Welcome in. Nice to see you, Roosevelt. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Bitcoin dominance staying below 42.5. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Then I'll actually take a look at the CME chart. It's not a chart that I often use, but it should be, because it's actually quite a relevant chart that's got good structure to it. BTC.D. Go to the daily here. Yeah, so we're still ticking to the upside with Bitcoin dominance. That means that there is money flushing out of the altcoins and market cap being removed from the altcoins. I can say that because Bitcoin is not moving up in price. So the market cap is actually bleeding out of Bitcoin. So when this chart is going up and Bitcoin's either sideways or down, it means that the altcoins are losing quite a lot of value. So yeah, we're gonna have to see if this turns around. What we want to see is we want to see a breakdown. We want to see a breakdown below. Let's get my pen tool here. So yeah, we want to see a breakdown below this level and a continuation of the altcoin season. For those who don't know what an altcoin season looks like on Bitcoin dominance, this is an altcoin season, especially when it's just free falling like that. Boom, that is a beautiful, beautiful altcoin season. So we're definitely not in altcoin season right now. Don't let any YouTuber tell you that we're in altcoin season. We're not. There's no technical indicator. We're seeing coins do random stuff. That's more of what a term that I stole from Chris Dunn. He calls it popcorn season. We're just random shit's popping off. So it's certainly not altcoin season. Altcoin season is a much more favorable trading environment to be in. This one's got a lot of chop, and it'll kind of tear your emotions around a little bit. So be careful out there. Cardano 420.69. Mother and father also watching, clapping, going wild, losing their minds, big gains. Oh, what did they get into? DYDX? So let's take a look at Bitcoin on CME. Bitcoin on CME is holding the top of the range, is holding the top of the Wyckoff accumulation channel. Now there are a few gaps for all the gap boys out there that think that these gaps need to be filled. I mean, there is price history to prove that a lot of them do get filled, but there are also gaps that don't get filled. So there is a gap down here at around $34,000. I see that is definitely a possibility of one that could be filled. So this would really not bode well for altcoins in this environment if we do come down and fill that gap. And then there's another one, which would be a new low. And I'd be very fearful if we were heading down to these levels that at a best case scenario, we would be in a long-term sideways trading environment that will be very choppy and hard to trade altcoins in. So I'm hoping that that's not a gap that needs to be filled. But if it does, we will adapt and we will move on and we will trade accordingly. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, so now we took a look at DYDX, we took a look at Troy. Now let's go for the decentralized alternatives here. We have Uniswap. Uniswap is the #1 decentralized exchange on Ethereum. We are in a similar type of structure to what we're seeing in Bitcoin, with a little bit of a lagging structure where we're further in the channel. So Bitcoin is making larger structural moves outside of its trading range, whereas Uni is still very much so inside of its trading range. But we have some similar structure in the downside trend lines. We need to break through these trend lines, so look for a break above 25. A clean break above 25 with volume will probably carry us through outside of the channel, where we can begin to test the top of the channel. And then from that point forwards, I wouldn't be surprised to see some targets in excess of $50. So we'd be looking at the target range of 57, 64, even up to possibly even $85 in the right environment, which I'm speculating we're not quite there yet. It's not altcoin season, so that would be in the context of an altcoin season. Don't think that that's about to happen anytime soon. We have a lot of ground to cover before we can start talking about those numbers. Another one we're looking at is SUSHI. So SUSHI is the largest, it's the second largest decentralized exchange on the Ethereum network, but fundamentally I find it's a lot stronger than Uniswap. So this one's more of a fundamental play for me. I have my position, I'm campaigning in, I'm holding strong, I'm holding spot, and I'm kind of getting chopped up a little bit, to be honest, but hey, that is what it is. I'm quite fond of the protocol, and I think that the community is doing a very good job of integrating and absorbing a lot of other projects. You can connect countless wallets on countless different networks on this automated market maker, which you just cannot do on Uniswap. It's very fundamentally strong and a very good competitor to even begin to develop the narrative that it could overtake Uniswap. If Uniswap doesn't change anything, I would not be surprised in the slightest that SushiSwap would become the new leader of the decentralized exchanges on Ethereum. But there's nothing to stop Uniswap from implementing some of the things that Sushi has been doing. So it's just more of the community decisions. The community needs to direct the DAO into the right direction to integrate with all of these things, because we need a cross-chain, we need a high communication network where a lot of this stuff can, communicate cross-chain and integrate and plug and play. There shouldn't be friction. If I show up to SushiSwap, I should be able to pick the network, I should be able to pick the wallet, and you can't do that on Uniswap. So fundamentally stronger, but we're not seeing that reflected in the price action as of yet. Father, can we please discuss Luna? So Luna's one that I'm not 100%, I'm not fundamentally sound on my understanding of Luna. I'm very weak. It's on my list of things to do. Luna's had a very good markup period, and it's had, as you can see, like, so in the Wyckoff method, what you're doing is you're observing the motion of the price cycle, and you're trying to become a participant at the right time of the price cycle. So you can see we had a markup period that went into a consolidation that resulted in distribution headed to the downside, and then we had another accumulation period that broke out into markup, and now this is kind of looking like a little bit of a distribution as well. So does this need to resolve to the downside? It is quite volatile. It's quite hard to hold on to. Luna's looking very, very choppy, and if Bitcoin does decide to kind of head down to lower levels, then I wouldn't be surprised if this does resolve to the downside. Now, in regards to DOT, and I'm not trying to create some family animosity here, I do think that DOT's kind of the better setup for the long term. At least less volatile inside of DOT. So DOT's already had a little bit of a markup consolidation, less of a shakeout, and a longer term accumulation. Now, it's not looking spectacular either. It definitely has the ability to go to the downside and reach the bottom of the channel. But I think that it's still inside of its accumulation, whereas Luna has already experienced markup, and I'm suspecting that it could be seeing a little bit of a distribution. What that means is just, I think that there's a higher downside risk in Luna, which could be canceled out with bullish momentum in Bitcoin, could be canceled out with bullish momentum from investors, and we could carry it forwards to higher levels. But the downside risk for me is less in Polkadot than it is in Luna. It really depends where you became a participant, really depends where you started buying. Luna, if you were buying at the bottom of the accumulation, then there's really nothing to worry about. But if it's a new position for you, just, employ appropriate risk management techniques, whether it is a stop loss, whether it is you can hedge the position, make sure your position size isn't too large. Stuff like that will all kind of help you with staying level-headed inside of the market. Head and shoulders on DOT. So yeah, for me, like, I'm not a pattern trader, I'm a trend trader. So yes, in the traditional sense, we have a head and shoulders. But what a head and shoulders is it's a change of trend. So we had a high, we had a higher high, and we had a lower high. We are met with a low, and we have a lower low. So in theory, we will have another lower low and then another lower high. And that's kind of, I do think that we're still in a possible accumulation here on DOT. Now, if DOT turns around here, then we're gonna have a higher low. So we really just need to wait and see. If you're long DOT, I think DOT's a strong project. You can see a lot of the adoption that has happened on Kusama, Polkadot's test network. I think the concept of parachains are a very elegant scaling solution that does integrate well with Ethereum. Don't fight Ethereum, integrate with Ethereum. You can do your own sidechain, you can do your own project, but make it plug into Ethereum. I don't understand these other projects that don't do that. Although we are seeing projects have success not plugging into Ethereum. Solana is a good example. Bitcoin is currently trapped under there. So yeah, those were the coins that I wanted to cover today. There's DEX called AnySwap, which has bridging ability also, and many side chains, more than SUSHI. Let's actually take a look at AnySwap. I've heard of AnySwap. AnySwap, so like these other alternatives, you can do a lot of things when you centralize. I'm not going to go ahead and say that AnySwap is centralized. I have no idea. but there are limits to decentralization. So, okay, we've got a router here, USD from the Ethereum mainnet to USD on Binance Smart Chain. So this is their bridge, or this is router. Interesting. What's the difference between a router and a bridge? A bridge is on the Ethereum virtual machine. Interesting. So I would speculate that this has some sort of central control. If they're able to just do swaps cross-chain without a bridge. I would have to look into this one a little bit more. I'm confused between the difference between a router and a bridge. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to dive into this one a little bit more. I'll check this out. But as far as a decentralized exchange, this is more of a bridge. I'm not seeing a swap feature. I guess you could treat this as a swap as well. You could, let's see. No, you can't. You can't. So this is not a decentralized exchange in the sense that I'm not just seeing just a pure swap feature. It's to move assets cross-chain. Yeah, I'll have to dive into that one a little bit more. I don't like to just, you know, make videos of me staring at screens trying to figure stuff out. But yeah, I will definitely take a look at that. Take a look at CKB. Explain the fork of UNI and SUSHI. So, you know, forks, it's basically just copying the code. You know, you copy the blockchain, you copy the code, you copy the tokenomics. So Uniswap was launched, and then a competitor chain copied the code. It's all open source. It's not, you know, it's literally copy and paste. You just do it. That's one of the beautiful things about open source technology is it's community based, and it's you're allowed to have healthy competition, and it's more so about moving the world forwards as opposed to, you know, protecting company secrets or anything like that. So SushiSwap came, copied the code, copy and paste, made the exact same thing, but since then have done a ton more development. So when they copied Uniswap, they were basically one for one. They had the same functionality, same utility, but it was all of the building that SushiSwap did on top of that copy that really sets it apart, in my opinion. Fundamentally speaking, it's much better than Uniswap, because they, you know, if Uniswap took, you know, a few years to develop, SushiSwap just got to start a few years into development and continue to develop forwards. We don't need to discuss the ethics or anything like that as to whether you agree with that or not, but that's what's happened. CKB. Nervous network. Total supply unlimited. That's not always a bad thing, but it does scare off investors. It can inflate into nothing. A blockchain platform for universal applications. Beyond interoperability towards universal applications. So right now it's not a product, it's a promise. There's no application for me to test. Access to any asset, any blockchain. Choose your interface, choose your crypto, stick with it. So yeah, I mean, these are exciting things to talk about. They're cool, but there's no product, and for me, that's a no-go. I don't invest in things that don't exist. That's not to say that plenty of other people don't do that. I mean, Cardano's a fantastic example. For most of Cardano's existence, it's been a smart contract platform that didn't have smart contracts, and it went to billions and billions of dollars. So people invest in things that don't exist all the time, but you know, that's just not my style. That's not what I do. And you know, the argument that seems most common with people from retail is like, well, you're going to miss the gains. That may be true, but there's a huge amount of risk, and I've also proved to myself that I can make plenty of money being late to the party. This whole entire market is very asymmetrical, and you can make a ton of money showing up late to the party after the products are already there. So for me, this is a pass, but by all means, do your analysis, have faith in the team, and manage risk appropriately. But there's no application for me to test, and these claims are quite bold. What do I think about pancake swap? So for me, you know, let's take a look at cake. Okay. For me, I'm really not a fan of the Binance Smart Chain because I feel as though it's a very predatory blockchain. If you're a scammer, you're on Binance Smart Chain. That's just the reality of it. Now, can we value a blockchain based on, how do we value blockchains? We value blockchains based on user throughput, user adoption, and although you have to be so careful on Binance Smart Chain, more careful than any other blockchain I've seen, it's being used. It's being used. It's being adopted. It's being adopted by the wrong people, and it's being used by a bunch of, people trying to steal your money. But it's being used. It's gone through a little bit of an accumulation period. Let's drop the seller's climax right there, I guess. Drag that open. It's not a picture perfect accumulation range here. Yeah, I would like to see it commit above. So there is kind of the ability for it to sit on the center line here, but because of the posture that Bitcoin is in, it could also head to the bottom of the channel as well. If it heads to the bottom of the channel, you're looking at a 30% retrace. I don't like to buy stuff that's in the middle of a consolidation. I'll either buy it as it's breaking out or I'll buy it as it retests the bottom. So for me, I don't like it fundamentally. I don't like it at its current position technically. If it does retrace down to the bottom, I would be interested in becoming a buyer. And if it began to turn around and break out new highs, I would also want to become a participant at that point as well. But cake, it's a pass for me. Ray. Yeah, so trading strategies in the bear market, first and foremost, no alts. Don't touch alts. There will be alt opportunities, but it's not part of my strategy. It'll mainly consist of shorting Bitcoin. And I'm talking about the downtrend of the bear market. Once we trade sideways, now I start to look at projects that I think are fundamentally strong. I start to look at projects that are showing the ability to separate themselves through the technicals. They rally harder than they react, stuff like that. And I would begin to develop a new bear market portfolio that could consist of 20 to 30 different assets purchased on spot markets and removed from the exchanges, put on wallets. And that's, a 2 or 3 year trade. Make a list, figure out the ones that I want to buy, and then wait for blood, wait for the dip days, wait for the fear, wait for the panic, and then I go out shopping. And you don't need a lot. You just do small positions because you've got multiple years to accumulate. You've got 18 to 24 months of accumulation in the flat zone of the bear market. And then if you want to add another layer of profitability to that as well, if the token can be staked for a yield, since you're holding it and not placing it with a stop loss or anything like that, you can receive a yield on those tokens for however long you plan on holding that trade and go from there. But yeah, I don't plan on holding or trading altcoins aggressively in the downtrend, unless it's a short. Okay, where was I? Do you have not ETH-based DEX? That would be any of the Solana DEXs, which are all plugged in through Serum. Serum is the liquidity for the Solana ecosystem's DEX. And then NTVRK. NTVRK. How are we doing for time? So I don't like this. You know, I don't know what the market cap is, don't know what the circulating supply is, don't know what the max supply is. So right now it looks like a complete shitcoin to me on the surface. Let's dive a little deeper. Metaverse gaming token, I don't know. So the metaverse is further away than people think it is. Okay, we've made advancements. We are getting there. It will happen in my lifetime for sure. Will it happen through this crypto cycle? No. No, it will not. Be the first in Network's new metaverse. All these projects are just selling JPEGs. You know, buy land in the metaverse. Is there a game? Is there a metaverse? You know, like you can go to Decentralized and you can go walk around. You can put up an advertisement. You can play games. If you can't do any of that, guys, don't bother, because even once the products are there and you can see a good product, then you'll know if it's actually something that's going to take place, going to take off. Right now, it's just trailers, slick pictures, good copy, good marketing. No, not for me. Not for me. Yeah, we can take a look at Ray. Take a look at Ray from a technical point of view. It is very, you know, those assets rely heavily on the success of Solana. So until Solana starts moving to the upside again, Ray's not going to move. We're looking to find support here. I would love to see us find support. Like, we have a little bit of a cup and handle right here. If we can find support down in this range, I think that would be a really good place to scoop some up. So we're pretty close. We're pretty close to that area anyways. You know, if we wick below, I'd buy. Any wick below this line, I think would be underpricing the asset. So all of your discounts, all of your value is going to be anytime the price is below this line. You got the value zone down there. Would be how I would approach Radium. The demand for Radium allows you to participate in new exchange offerings, decentralized exchange offerings, or initial DEX offerings, the IDOs. So having a stake in Radium qualifies you for different listings. So that's the demand of Radium. Other than that, I don't really know what the demand is for Radium, but yeah, I'd be looking. We'll probably consolidate here for a bit. If I was to guess, probably spend a few months down in this general range. So maybe a month and a half of accumulation, and then watch for it to turn around. Time is really hard to quantify, so don't quote me on that. I just think that we're ready for a sideways accumulation in that general range, where we'll get a few rallies that get people excited and they'll come right back down to reality as well. So yeah, looks all right. Do I think VeChain will do much? I think VeChain has a lot of adoption as far as their claim. You know, they've been working for a long time. They've been doing work for a very long time. Now, what is the value of a VET token? What is the value of VeChain tokens? You got to keep in mind, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there that I think becomes overvalued. How much is one VeChain token actually worth? What, like Walmart in China uses VeChain for supply management, correct? How much VeChain do they need to hold? How much VeChain do they need to own? The gas is VTHO, VeChain Thor. So how much VeChain does Walmart need to buy to process all of the transactions based on the volume that Walmart does? That's a pretty hard question for me to answer, and probably one that's even hard for Walmart to answer at the moment as well. But, you know, realize what you're buying here is you're buying a token that just allows you to use the network. So do you really have an invested interest in the success of Walmart's supply chain? To me, I get a lot more excited about, you know, giving crypto to the people, giving decentralized financial instruments to the general public. That gets me more excited. It's not to say that this isn't an easy narrative to understand and an easy value proposition to make. We're in an accumulation. So as it stands right now, we're going to remain in this kind of accumulation range. If we break out of the range, I think it's game back on for VeChain. We're just sitting sideways for a while. Traders don't like to sit sideways, but it is what it is. So, you know, if you are a long-term VeChain holder, scooping anything up at around 5 cents would be a really good buy for you. Yeah, I might even get the opportunity to buy back in where I sold. I sold my VeChain at 4 cents way back. When was that? It was a while ago now. Anyways. But yeah. So just have a good understanding as to what you're buying, because it helps with your conviction to the trade. How much demand do you think is really here, and what in the world of blockchain is going to be in higher demand? What do you think people are really going to get excited about? Supply chain management, very appropriate application of blockchain tech. Is it what's sexy and what's going to get people really excited? I don't know. Maybe eventually, when price starts going up, it will, I'm sure. So coins like Ray can disregard a bull leg. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, Kahuna. Dingo ate my Satoshis. Just gotta say, I love your name. NFTB. 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 Binance shit chain. That's an X in my books. So it's an NFT marketplace. Why do I need the token? The NFTs are sold using BNB. What value does NFTB, what value does holding this token give you? How is it structured? On a side note, with NFTs, okay, there are gaming NFTs. Those have utility, right? Gaming NFTs have utility. They're not crazy expensive. Tickets can be sold using NFTs. That has a very easy use case. You know, buy this NFT, you have tickets to the game, you have tickets to the event, you have tickets to the show. It's a great application. Now, what the hell's going on with the JPEGs? Why are the JPEGs, why are the pictures going for, in the case of, you know, Bored Ape Yacht Club, 40 Ethereum? It's because money is being laundered. That's why. It's an unregulatable space. It's a digital art world, and you're seeing markup in assets where people want to hide money and not pay taxes. So where is the number one market to do that? OpenSea on Ethereum. You want to hide money? You go to ETH. You want to hide money? You do it on OpenSea. Any of these other marketplaces that are trying to copy that model and try and get retail excited about cheap NFTs with the daydreams of seeing a 400x on their NFTs is just you know, for lack of a better term, kind of delusional, because it's not what's going on. What's going on is rich people hiding millions of dollars. That's what's going on. It's not that these things, it's not that these pictures are just worth money. They're not. They're being used as a tool to hide money. And there's a place to do that, and it's OpenSea on Ethereum. That's where it's taking place. It's not taking place on NFTB. And if you're looking to buy the token, that's even less exciting for me. Did I actually look at Ren? Oh, no, I didn't. I got lazy with the thumbnail. That was actually yesterday's thumbnail, but to keep it legit, let's take a look at Ren. You ever heard of YouTuber burnout? Sometimes I wake up and I don't want to make a thumbnail. Ren's actually looking good. So I did cover this in yesterday's video. I like what I'm seeing here because we're in a long-term accumulation. Now, I'm still a little fuzzy on where the demand comes from for Ren. Ren is a protocol that wraps Bitcoin and brings it into DeFi. Great, awesome application, really, really needed. But what does the Ren token do? Why do we need to buy the Ren token? Because in a lot of these DeFi protocols, we don't actually need the token to use them. They're just there, they're open source, they're free for us to use. We can go and do our stuff and we can leave, and we never really need to buy the governance token for that asset. That being said, we are seeing a little bit of a change of behavior. We're seeing a change of character in the price here after a sideways accumulation range, a sideways consolidation. The volatility is increasing, and it's increasing to the upside. So it's looking good. It's kind of taking kind of a wonky cup and handle formation. So I would be looking for a clean break above this kind of level here. We need a breakout. I need to see a sign of strength. I need to see a break of structure. We're coiling up, we're getting ready to go, but I need to see a break and then a test of this kind of level here. Now the break will kind of make you FOMO because it'll be a big break. It'll probably be like a stupid 30 or 40% move. And then I want to see a consolidation above the newly found support. Once we can hold support above that level, I think we would be ready for the real markup. But yeah, Ren structurally, technically looking really good. I just don't know how long term I would hold it without doing some more fundamental research. So there's your invitation. Go do your own research on where the consistent and long-term demand of this token lies. For me, I don't care about governance. That's me. I don't care about governance. I really don't. I'm never voting on DAOs. I'm never staking my Uniswap to vote. All right. Tips for beginners. That's kind of a big question. The biggest tip that I can give you is don't assume too much risk. And that's almost kind of a silly thing to say because beginners always do. You know, beginners always assume too much risk in this market because this market is very hyped. There is a lot of influencers that tell you about sure things and life-changing opportunities, the next 10x, the next 100x, the next 1000x. It's very, very hard to control your emotions in here. And honestly, the market is the best teacher. So what I would tell you is if you're planning on becoming a trader, take $1,000 and trade it and turn it into $2,500. If you can't do that, guess what? Adding more money to the fire doesn't make you more money. If you can't turn $1,000 into $2,500, don't fucking trade. Okay, keep your risk at a minimum, do your own research, and no, that does not mean look at YouTube videos. That means go and use the application, put some money in a wallet, open up the dApp, play around, see where the value is. Where is the demand coming from? At what point am I required to buy this token? Understand the basics. What is Bitcoin? Why is Bitcoin important? Why is Bitcoin at the top? Understand the fundamentals first. Try to limit your exposure to YouTube. In fact, get the fuck out of here. you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose money at least once, okay? You're gonna make a bad decision at least once, and that's when you're going to start to quell your behavior and start to learn. But don't buy stuff that's pumping, buy stuff that's sideways, and buy stuff that's fundamentally sound. Go read the Bitcoin standard. Go understand Bitcoin first. Yes, it's boring. Yes, nobody wants to talk about it, but there's a reason it's at the top. So go figure out what that reason is. Yeah, Cody. How much time to make 2,500? Just try and do it. I don't care how much time. Just do it. If you can't do that, you can't add zeros to the end of those figures. And you certainly can't add leverage. Another beginner's tip, stay away from leverage. Leverage is a trap. If you are not a consistently successful spot market trader, what in the fucking world makes you think that you can add leverage to your mistakes? Leverage is a trap. Be careful. It's for very experienced users. Okay, so Cody, I want to see it break past this high. There's a lot of hype going on. We're breaking out of this long-term accumulation. So if you're a spot buyer and you're kind of a long-term holder, this, even though you could experience some downside buying Cody right now, if you're a spot buyer and you just buy investments, we're in a breakout. We're in a breakout flag that's also breaking out. So there is this flag right here. So as far as this move that we're currently on concluding, let's actually remove that. You could expect another move up to this general area, which will just get you outside the channel before it starts to experience some slowdown. But it's entering into a blue sky breakout, so it's heading in the right direction for those macro investors. We're also above the previous all-time high here. Hype going on with Cody. Cardano integrating Cody, launching their very first stablecoin, joining the rest of the party. So yeah, you could wait for a retest, although this daily close is a pretty solid daily close. Yeah, I think it's a good setup, especially for those that, aren't applying leverage and aren't so concerned about their entries. We're still in a relatively good zone to enter. Kahuna Organics asks, when discussing Ray, I mentioned it looks like it could accumulate. It looks like it's heading into accumulation. Accumulation takes time. If we go full bull, the people that are accumulating are done. They're just going to experience markup. When we're trading sideways, the people who are accumulating are buying on every dip, and that's what makes it trade sideways. If retail rushes in with a bunch of fresh capital, the market caps go up, the prices go up, and those that were accumulating stop accumulating, and they just hold and wait for the distribution event where they start to sell the shares to all the people buying in at the top. So yeah, if we go full bull into an altcoin season, yeah, it's just going to go like everything else. But there's no technical indicator that's going to show me that unless we start to mark up and break through some of the highs and see the dominance fall and see Bitcoin rally. Like when it becomes obvious, hey, we're in an altcoin season, then yes, of course, it's gonna mark up. With Cody, would you ever consider using a trailing stop loss? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's moving that fast. Trailing stop losses, I'm not a big fan of them, just because, like I go based on the range. So if we're in a new trading range, like if the width of the trading range is your stop loss, but then the volatility, I don't like stop losses. I don't like trailing stop losses. What I do is I'll lock in gains using a stop loss as it marks up. but I typically don't use a trailing stop loss, because as you go into markup, the volatility increases. So what kind of stop loss are you going to put? How much are you going to put? The number goes up, the percentage gains go up, so your trailing stop will eventually just get stopped out before heading to higher levels. So I don't really like it, because the math doesn't really work on a trailing stop loss, at least not for me. If you're doing short-term scalps, absolutely, trail stops. You're on the 5 minute, the 15 minute, and you're just capturing all of the gains. So yeah, use a trailing stop, and it's based on the previous candle. Just carry that candle forwards. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm much more of a manual trader. Bitcoin spot CVD. CVD has been trending down for like the last 20 hours on AGGR with no sign of reversal. Any opinions on that? Well, I don't know what CVD is, and I don't know what AGGR is. So if you can elaborate on that, then yes. Blue, what's your platform token choice? Solana, Cardano, Ethereum, Avalanche? Ethereum. That's my choice. I think Ethereum is... I'm most bullish on Ethereum. Is it just hopium that the bull run continues? Yep. At this point, yep. It's hopium. We're neutral. We're neutral at best. We're working on printing a lower high. There's a very, very high probability that there's an increasingly high probability that we're in a bear market. We're equalized. There's not a clear bullish case. There's not a clear bearish case. We're pretty neutral. You have to really weigh both options clearly. So is there hopium that we continue the bull market? Yes, there is. There is a level of hope, because the other side is growing. The other side is growing as a possibility. Yeah, we'll take a look at Hbar real quick, and then I gotta get out of here. Hbar, looks like we're trading sideways for a while, so we have a new kind of support range. We have a new general trading range here. If we fall below that level, then there's a possibility we also go to the bottom of the channel. We broke this downward sloping line of resistance. That's step one. When you break the line of resistance, you can at least trade sideways for a while, so we do have to kind of watch the support levels and make sure we don't fall below. So once you start trading below this level, I don't really like the price action. I don't like the volume. So even though we broke, sometimes time can break a trend line, right? It's not always bullish price action that breaks a trend line. So we broke a trend line, but what really broke the trend line was just the passage of time. And now there's still no demand. There's nothing carrying us forwards. So you have to entertain the idea that the momentum's not there. Trading activity is really important. There's 6,000 coins. There's 6,000 coins out there, and there's only so many investors. There's a lot of coins that get forgotten about. They fall lower and lower on the watch list. The hype is gone. The YouTubers aren't talking about them anymore. And that's why I like to stick with high market cap coins, because moves in the high caps are noticed. Moves in the lower caps go unnoticed. So, there's a lot of dilution in this market. Who knows? We'll see what happens. I like, the overall trading range, but this could just result in an upthrust. Price action's good. We got some demand coming in on the higher time frames, and it's lower demand on its test. But we really need to hold this level. It's kind of do or die. This is the line in the sand for me on this one, is right here. If we want a wide line, no, we don't want a wide line. Yeah, as long as we're above here, we're bull. If we're below, we're bear. If we're below, then this will result in an up thrust, and it'll probably turn into a sign of weakness and get a distribution, because we already had a markup event, so we have to be careful that we're not in distribution. Yeah, I don't know. This is the trade. As long as we're above here, we're good. If we fall below, no good. And the market's just not working with it. Guys, it's not altcoin season. It's not altcoin season. We have to just, you know, feeling a lot of pressure to put posts in VIP because everybody's seeing stuff pop off, and that comes with an expectation. I gotta just stop. I gotta stop, you know, forcing trades. You know, I'll share with you what I'm trading. But I gotta stop just forcing posts, because the market's just not working with us. Bitcoin dominance, we need it to trend down. Okay, what's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin trapped under this line in the sand here, so we're gonna see how this concludes. Demand's relatively low for this move. We don't have enough carrying us forwards. You know, it's funny, retail doesn't want to touch Bitcoin. They never want to touch Bitcoin. They only want to buy altcoins. But as a result of that, you don't get demand from retail in Bitcoin for the most part. And your altcoin's not going to fucking move without Bitcoin. It's just not. Your altcoin will not move without Bitcoin's permission. Love it or hate it, that's the facts. That's the facts in the charts. When Bitcoin goes up, your altcoins go up. So, you know, you holding no Bitcoin, it is what it is. Retail doesn't want Bitcoin. It's too expensive. But anyways. Cumulative volume delta. Buys versus sells for an aggregate of the top 20 exchanges. Cumulative volume delta. DYDX, the whole market is talking about DYDX. Blake? And I do remember you mentioning it. I don't know where to see the CVD XT bag. Buys versus the sells. Yeah, there's definitely less buying pressure in Bitcoin, for sure. You know, like I just said, retail's not buying Bitcoin. So who is buying Bitcoin? If all that we have is traditional finance in the market, traditional finance does not trade crypto like crypto traders trade crypto. This is overheated. Traditional finance, for the most part, they're not making new entries here. They're just not. You know, we have a macro lower high. The likelihood that we have a bearish price structure, you know, that, like I've said a few times already, that case is increasing. So it is what it is. We'll see how, if we break down here, we'll see how we respond to this level right here, because that's kind of the fractal that we had with this, the landing zone here. But again, you know, it's not a great thing. Not what we want to see. So this kind of fractal pattern is presenting itself in a very similar way. So we'll see how it reacts here, if we do break down to that level. Got to think about both sides. We have a bull case and we have a bear case. So we have to acknowledge that. All right, so I've probably droned on long enough here. What time is it? I'm already late. All right, so I got to get out of here. So thank you all for joining into the stream here. If you guys are interested in learning more about trading and learning more about investing and interpreting the Wyckoff price cycles, then I encourage you to join the Discord down below, or go to cryptojungle.com and sign up for VIP. 50% off your first month using the coupon code WELCOME. And if you're not on the free side of the Discord, to just take a look at some of the open source material that we have available in there, go to thecryptojungle.com and click on the approved applications Discord. That'll give you a link into the Discord. So yeah, thank you all for joining in, and trade safe. It's a jungle out there. Peace.